Hi, hello, namaste friends. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. So we are discussing nutrition in animals. In the last class, we discussed that about tongue. So various kinds of birds which are present on the tongue. What is the use of the tongue? It is a muscular organ which will make the semi-solid, that is a solid food into semi-solid food with the help of the saliva. So today we will discuss about salivary glands. Got my point? Today we will discuss about salivary glands. Totally we have three pairs of salivary glands in a buccal cavity, that is in the mouth, and the one pair of salivary glands which is present near to the upper jaw, and the two pairs which are present near to the lower jaw. Got my point? Totally we have three pairs. One pair is in the upper part, that means upper jaw, two pairs in the nearly lower jaw. So what is the use of the salivary glands? They secrete saliva, which is very important for us. So saliva makes the solid food into semi-solid food so that it can move easily down the alimentary canal. Question arises here, alimentary canal. This is very important. Alimentary canal is nothing but the digestion process will start from the buccal cavity, nothing but mouth, up to the last point or end point, we can say that is a anus. Are you getting my point? So from the mouth to the esophagus, from esophagus to the stomach to the small intestine to the larger intestine, then afterwards to the rectum, after the last point, that is the exit point, is a anus. This is whole alimentary canal. Got my point? And here it also contain an enzyme called salivary amylase. Got my point? It also contain the saliva, that is enzyme, we can call that is a enzyme name is salivary enzyme. So this enzyme starts the digestion of starch and converts it into simpler or simple sugar, we can call that is a glucose. What is the function of this saliva in the mouth? The saliva releases daily for a person from 1 liter to 1.5 liter every day. So it makes the solid food into semi-solid food, which makes it like a bolus like a structure, which is very important to move easily through this esophagus, nothing but we can say food pipe, which will makes easier the work digestion. Are you getting my point? So this is what about a salivary gland. So here in your textbook, page number 14, that is 2.3, activity 2.3 they have given. So why they have given, what we need to understand, that we have that activity because to understand effect of saliva on starch. Suppose when you will have some food in the mouth, so saliva will be added to that, means saliva glands will release the saliva, that saliva will added to the food, will make it to solid food into semi-solid. And what is the use of that saliva? That is what we need to understand here by this activity. So we'll do some just you can whenever we'll start, no, that time we'll have this activity in the lab. So now you can just understand that I will explain here what we need to do. What is the aim of this activity? To show the effect of saliva on starch. Then what is starch? Means whenever you're having bread, okay, roti or chapati or rice, something like that, okay. So all these contain starch initially, but starch, when it will be added to the mouth, little bit amount of saliva is added to that, it makes a little bit, after crushing, saliva will make that solid food into semi-solid, which makes easier to move through the esophagus or food pipe through whole alimentary canal. So that makes that complex food into simpler one, nothing but we can say that is a digestion. That saliva will help for the digestion process, will make the complex food like starch into simpler one like a sugar. Are you getting my point? So end point of our body contains the cells, each cell must need this glucose, then only we can start our activities like reading, writing, okay, observing or sleeping, okay, or running, jogging, anything if you want to do any activity, we must need energy. Then how will you get energy? So this is that the last point of the our body is cell. So n number of cells are there in the body. That's why these living organisms, we human that is human being, will come under in a multicellular organisms. We are not unicellular, multicellular. So many n number of cells are there in our body. Each cell must need energy. Then how we are getting energy? When you will have food, initially it contains a starch, then saliva will be added to that food. After crushing, that makes the solid food into semi solid food, will move through the esophagus, will be moving towards the that is stomach contains HCl, that will make it a little bit partially digest it, and afterwards again it will move to the small intestine, then afterwards will be larger, then rectum, then anus. So that afterwards all these smaller intestine will be absorbed, everything that will be completely become as a simpler sugar, that will be passed to again each part of the body towards the last part, that is a cell. So when the energy will be up getting by the each one of our body cells, then our activity will starts, then will become active. Got my point? This is how. So to show the effect of saliva on starch, materials required for this activity is boiled rice. We need boiled rice here, and 2 test tubes we need, and iodine solution. So in the when the it was in the 6th standard, so that everybody that you did this experiment iodine test you did. So that is, you have taken one that is a test tube, and you inserted small amount of bread or any rice into that, then added some water into that, then little bit amount of then heated it, and then afterwards that little bit amount of 2 to 3 drops of iodine solution, that will be turned towards that violet color. So what you understood, that rice contain a starch. Are you getting my point? That rice contain a starch. So that is nothing but a sugar it contained initially. So that what you did the experiment. Here what we need to understand, what is the effect of saliva on starch. So that what need to understand. Method what we need to do here, take 2 equal quantities of a boiled rice in a 2 respective test tubes and make them or mark them as A and B. We need to take 2 test tubes from the laboratories and mark them as A test tube and B test tube. Label it on that, A test tube and B test tube. So next what we need to do, that collect some saliva from your mouth. Means suppose whenever doing the experiment, little bit amount of from your mouth. If you are doing the activity, that you to what you need to do, collect some saliva from your mouth. So put it in the test tube number B. Are you getting my point? What we need to first we need to take 2 separate test tubes and mark them as A and B. Then equal amount of rice, that is boiled rice, we need to insert in that. Then afterwards what we need to do, little amount of saliva we need to add to the test tube number B, or test tube marked label as B, and 3 to 4 ml of water for both the test tubes. And what we need to now do, we have to shake it well. Okay, then now put 2 to 3 drops of iodine solution in each test tube. What we need to do now, 2 to 3 drops of iodine solution in each test tube. Then observe the change in color, if any, both the test tubes. Is there any means by observing, by adding iodine solution to both the test tubes, is there you are getting any kind of changes in the color? So that what we need to discuss here. What you will observe, that observation will give the answer for you. That is, we observe that color changes to violet on adding iodine solution to the test tube number A, whereas there is no change in the color observed in test tube number B. Then give me answer you now, that test tube number A contains only water, only boiled rice. Then afterwards what we did, we shaked it. So properly we shake both the test tubes. So by adding iodine solution, 2 to 3 drops of iodine solution equally to both the test tubes A and B, then afterwards what happens, it changes the color. In which test tube? Test tube number A will changes to the violet color, but no, there is no changes in the color in test tube number B. So why this happened? Question is, why this happened? This happened because the food which is there in the test tube number A, we have not added saliva. Please keep in mind, the test tube number A does not contain saliva here. Means that the test tube which contains the saliva with rice contain initially, it is the starch. So that what did, so when you added the saliva to test tube number B, which contains the water even and also boiled rice, when adding saliva makes that boiled rice crush in a manner that is makes completely, that will be mixed properly with that boiled rice, means nothing but in the form of a crushing. So then that saliva converted that starch in the, that is rice, boiled rice will converted the starch into sugar. That's why there is no changes in the color in test tube number B. Got my point? This is what the effect of saliva on starch in test tube number B. So there is no effect on the test tube number A here because it does not contain any saliva. So only that rice water is contained. By adding iodine solution there is no changes. So changes in the color, but there is no conversion of that starch into glucose in test tube number A. But there is no changes in the color, means it indicates that there is no effect of saliva on, that is starch. That is saliva on starch will be affecting on what? On in the test tube number, that is B. Got my point? There is no changes in the color. So it indicates that, that is means the test tube number B, it is the effect of saliva on a starch. So that indicates that how it is affecting, that is converting that starch into glucose in test tube number B by there is no change in the color. So when there is a change in the color to violet in the test tube number B, indicates that the test tube number A does not contain any saliva, means initially it contains a starch completely. That's why the color changes to violet. This activity you did in the 6th standard. Okay, so conclusion, what is the conclusion? By this activity we concluded that saliva converts the starch into glucose. This is what the effect of that is saliva on the starch. So do you understand that the saliva we must need or no? We must need saliva. Got my point? If there is no saliva, then how will you convert? Got my point? That's why 3 pairs of the, that is saliva glands we have in our, that is buccal cavity. 1 pair will be in the upper jaws, 2 pair will be in the lower jaws. Every day 1 to 1.5 liter of saliva will be released in the mouth. Very important, it is very important activity. Page number 14, 2.3, activity point number 2.3 we have completed. Thank you so much for watching my videos. Share my videos and subscribe it. Thank you so much.